Are you a small one-person Etsy shop? Do you feel like your time is getting away from you? Do you feel like you are spending hours and getting nothing done? Do you feel like you're spinning your wheels, putting in all this effort and you're not seeing the results? In today's video, I'm going to take you through 12 things that small Etsy shops should not be doing. There's so much advice out there on YouTube. Do this, put time into this. But with all that noise, I find that there's a lot of things that smaller Etsy shop owners are spending their time on that is an absolute waste of their time. And I want to go into those 12 things so that you can just cross these things off your list so you don't continue to waste time on them. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan Jarris, and I'm an Etsy shop owner of about 7 years. I've sold over $1.5 million in revenue on the platform, and that's over $1 million in profit. And I also sell on Amazon and Shopify. Now, my entire background is corporate e-commerce, so I worked for big companies, managing large portfolios for Zappos and Zulily, and now I teach Etsy sellers and prospective Etsy sellers, just like you, how to build multi-six-figure shops. And that's with my program and my one-on-one coaching. If you want more information on that, you can schedule a free call with us below just to learn more about the different options I offer. But the link for that free call is right below the video in the description. All right, so let's jump into these 12 things that small Etsy shops should not be doing. And if you like videos like this, please subscribe. It'll encourage me to keep making more. All right, number 1, spending hours creating a social media calendar. When it comes to social media, I see a lot of small one-person Etsy shops get caught up in the thinking and the planning phase to where they don't actually take action. They're spending hours thinking about their posts, thinking about content ideas, trying to plan things out on a schedule, right? But then we look at their shops and there's no action being taken. Action trumps everything. Typically with social media, it's going to be a volume game, so you need to be posting consistently. And what I recommend focusing on is the Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram strategies. I also cover TikTok in my program, but we really focus on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram about 20 minutes a day. You don't need to do more than that. You could easily spend more than 20 minutes thinking about social media, but what we do is we stop thinking and we just do the action. The kind of a quick and dirty method of getting the posts up, getting them in front of the right people, and growing your audience outside of Etsy so that then we can drive that traffic to Etsy. I have some really scrappy ways to grow specifically on Instagram. Really with your social media posts, Facebook's gonna work the fastest, Pinterest is the long game, Instagram is really about nurturing your current customers and finding new customers as well. But we gotta stop focusing on the planning part of social media and just get the posts up. Like one example of this, I always tell my students, okay, if you haven't posted on social media, get your phone out, do a quick boomerang of whatever is in front of you on the table, what you're working on your computer screen, what design you're working on, quick boomerang, behind the scenes, sneak peek, it's done. Just get a story up. You do not need to be putting a lot of time and effort into thinking and planning. You just have to keep showing up, and thinking is not a way to show up. The second thing that small shops should not be doing is paying for expensive software to track things, right? To track inventory, to track their hours, to track their expenses. Do not be paying for expensive software to track these things when you have no sales or if you have very few sales. I actually just had a coaching call with one of my students. We had a great conversation about where she's spending her time on her business and which time is profitable and which time is maybe busy work or wasting her time. She was spending a lot of time and money learning this software to track her inventory. And at the time she had less than 50 sales. So we found that really for her was busy work. It wasn't profitable time. She wasn't at the level that she needed to be paying for this and putting a lot of time into tracking her inventory. There's a time and a place for expensive software, but when you're a brand new shop, it's not the way to be spending your time. The next thing I recommend not doing is not paying for ads when your listings are not optimized. I see a lot of small shops and they tell me that their strategy is to do $10 a day in ads or maybe $3 a day in ads. And they're just going to do ads until they get traction. The problem is it's not going to help because their listings aren't optimized. So sure, they will get traffic when the ads are on. They'll at least get more views, right? They might not get more visits. When they stop spending on ads, if their listing's not optimized, if it's missing SEO, if it's missing some key points of optimization to actually convert customers and to be found, then as soon as they stop paying, the traffic's going to stop coming and they certainly won't convert anyone. We do not want to pay for any ads until our listings listings are optimized and until we've completely removed the friction in the purchasing process so that when people do find it, they'll actually buy it. We don't want to pay for ads until everything's optimized in our listings and also our shop. The next mistake I see small shops doing is focusing more on listing count rather than listing optimization. So they are setting this goal of creating 100 listings, maybe 500 listings, but the quality of the listings is not where it needs to be. So they're creating maybe 100 bad listings, 100 listings with terrible SEO, 100 listings that are confusing and won't convert anyone. They're spending all this time on the wrong thing. The return on that investment of their time won't be there. I always recommend putting the time into optimization before you do a volume of listings. It's better to have 10 good listings than 100 terrible ones. The fifth thing that I would not spend time on as a small shop is spending hours of your time on mood boards and your brand story development and really doing a lot of that, maybe brainstorming, journaling, busy work, meditation on what you should do next if no one knows about your brand, if no one cares yet. Mood boards, creating an elaborate brand story, that's not a profitable way to spend your time. I've seen actually shops put months into brand story development before they even launch. They might be totally off base with what customers want or what they care about. They've spent so much time on something that is not going to have a return on that investment of time. Really, the common theme here is that as a small shop, you are likely a one-person show, maybe a two-person show. So your time is extremely valuable. You're wearing all the hats, right? Everything rests on you and what you can get done. If you're spending your time on the wrong things, the things that won't make you money, you are wasting it. So you've got to constantly think about your hourly wage for when you're working on your business, right? Let's say you work a 10-hour day. If you spend 5 of those hours on things that aren't going to make you money, the other 5 hours on things that are making you an average of, $15 an hour, your real hourly wage is now $7.50 because half the time you were working on your business was kind of wasted. So we don't want to spend hours on things like creating mood boards, creating brand stories, and things that customers don't even care about at this point. I would divert that time onto more profitable action steps. The next thing that I see small shops doing is that they are doing the Pinterest strategy before their listings are optimized for Pinterest. They're spending all this time on the Pinterest strategy, but their listings aren't optimized for Pinterest, so it's really a waste of time. Basically, if you do not optimize your listings for Pinterest, I would say it's probably about 80% less effective. I would not spend any time on Pinterest until you've optimized your listings specifically for Pinterest to do well on Pinterest. If you're not sure what that means and you need help, reach out. I have a whole lesson all about this. The seventh thing that small shops should not be doing is investing in a wide variety of expensive tools and materials. As a small shop, you are one person. And if you end up with 8 to 10 different tools, you've got an embroidery machine, you've gotten a laser, you've gotten a CNC, you've gotten a heat press, maybe you've invested in a big, DTG printer. You've invested in all these tools, but you're one person and there's not enough hours in the day for you to run all of these tools to have a strong ROI on their investment. So as a one-person show, I would really focus on one thing, a couple of tools, a couple of pieces of equipment, not investing thousands of dollars in all these different pieces of equipment that you don't even have time to use. So focus on 1 or 2 things, get a really nice high sell-through, a good hourly wage for when you are, working on those things. Now this is for physical products, and focus on sell-through and be calculated on when you invest in equipment. Become profitable with that. And then when you have time, add another thing and then another. Okay, the 8th mistake that I see small shops making is doing all of their trend research on Etsy. There are so many YouTube videos out here who show you this is how you find trending products on Etsy. We do not want to do trend research on Etsy. If you are a small shop, you have to do more to compete with bigger shops. You do. You do not want to be looking for trends on Etsy and then chasing them down. The way to get ahead as a small shop is really to find trends that are not on Etsy yet and then be the first to market with that trend on Etsy. So I've done this over and over again with my business, and I help my students do this as well. So I have a whole lesson all about how to find trends before they're on Etsy, because Etsy is one of the last places to pick up on trends. So if you're doing your trend research on Etsy, you're 10 steps behind. And if you're a small shop, you want to focus even more on being 10 steps ahead. That will help you grow so much faster. The 9th thing that I see small shops doing is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for different results. You are going to grow at a snail's pace if you do this. I'll see a shop out there, they have like 2 sales. I check back on that shop 3 months later and they have 300 more listings, but they've only gotten 1 more sale. The 300 listings, they're just doing the same thing over and over again, and they're not going to see a different result. I highly recommend, if you are a small shop, you want to be testing different things. You want to be seeing what works, seeing what people respond to better or worse, and constantly evolving your process and your designs and your offering to be more and more aligned with what people actually want and what's actually picking up traction. If you start creating listings and nothing's getting traction and you just keep doing the same method, thinking that suddenly they will get traction, it's probably not going to happen. You have to have a deeper level of strategy here and be constantly incorporating new strategies. I call this the sprinting phase of your business, where you are actually stacking new strategies on top of each other to get traction. And it's not doing the same thing over and over again. That's like the definition of spinning your wheels. The next thing I see small shops doing is waiting until they become bigger to start to offer customization. So they say, yes, once I get traction with this, then I'll start to offer customization. The reason you're not getting traction might be because you're not offering customization yet. In a way, it can be totally backwards, where they want to offer customization after they see proof of concept that someone wants that thing, then they'll offer customization on it. I actually think they might not see the traction because they don't have the customization to begin with. It's much easier to get traction on a listing where customization is already part of it. So if you're waiting for growth before you are adding on the layer of customization as an option, you might never see the growth that you need to even get there. Start with customization, you'll grow so much faster. The next thing I see small shops doing is spending their time trying to improve bad listings. So they focus their time on the listings that aren't working, and they focus on, how do I improve this? How do I get sales out of this listing that I haven't gotten sales out of? How do I get more traffic to this listing that's not getting traffic? How do I make people want this thing that no one's wanting right now? So instead of focusing on the worst listings, the things that for some reason people don't want, focus your time on the things that people actually want, the things that are your best listings. And if you have no sales, maybe these are the listings that are getting the most traffic or the most likes or the most favorites. Because you're at this point where you are probably wearing all the hats, you don't want to be focusing the majority on your time on the things that aren't working and trying to fix them. You want to be focusing the majority of your time on the things that are working and how to get more out of those things that are working. And it's because you have a higher velocity of sales and traffic on the things that are working. So when you improve them, you see an exponentially better result. So don't focus on the listings that customers don't seem to like. Focus on the listings that the customers like the most. And the next thing that small shops should not be doing is focusing their time on things that won't make them money. How do you know what's going to make you money? It's all about learning what has a strong ROI for the time you put in. So we want to ask ourselves every time we sit down to work on something for our shop, how much money am I going to make from this hour? How am I going to drive sales in this hour? Typically, those actions that have the strongest ROI are going to be the things that drive more sales. So how are you going to get more traffic and how are you going to improve your conversion? Those two things. If you're saying, okay, I don't know what's going to make me more money, think about more traffic, more conversion. What are those activities? If it's not going to help you with those two things, I would not spend your time on it at this point. As a really small shop, if you're a one-person show, if it's not driving traffic, if it's not improving conversion, I wouldn't do it. I would not prioritize it. And now, just to keep in mind, all of these things are if you are really focused on running Etsy as a business, not just a, fun little hobby. This is really for if you are trying to drive sales and trying to maybe make this a full-time income for yourself, trying to scale to that multi-six-figure level. These are things that small shops should not be doing if they want to get there. I hope this was helpful. If you need help one-on-one with your shop, definitely reach out. You can find me on Instagram at Dylan Jarris, email team@dylanjarris.com, or schedule a free call with my team with the link below, and we can talk about your shop. We can analyze it, look at what you're struggling with, and see maybe how we could help you out. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.